I'm Michael Sean Harris, and you're listening to Mike's Moment of, a weekly podcast in which I, along with my guests, share our various interests in moments of inspiration, truth, life, technology, culture, and more. I hope you're entertained and informed, and that you feel inspired to join me again and again in my moments of. Here we go. All right. Welcome to another Mike's Moment of. So we're talking with a bright spark, someone who's full of energy, Syndee Winters, and she's living in New York. Well, I'm going to let her tell all the things, but she's living in New York, and she's a Broadway performer, and she's of Jamaican descent as well. Syndee, hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Mike, for inviting me. This is so exciting. Who knew that we from being friends on Instagram to now we're friends on podcast?
I know, right? Oh man, welcome. I'm so glad you said yes.
This is so exciting. My dream is to be able to connect with the people of Jamaica, especially in theater arts. So anything that allows me to do that, any opportunity, I'm in.
Awesome. So this is a start. Because, I remember the first time we connected, we were talking about maybe you're coming to Jamaica and doing some workshops.
Right, that's right.
In theater. And then lots of stuff happened, COVID happened. But, there's a future and anything's possible. So we're going to get it started and let some people get to know you as well.
Yes, thank you. We got nothing but time now.
That's right. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself. So your parents are Jamaican?
Yes, so my parents are Jamaican. My father grew up in Almontown. I guess I can call it Almontown because that's just the way that he says it, but I guess it's All Man Town for the people who are not Jamaican.
Right.
Understand the spelling. And yes, they are Chinese.
Okay.
They're of Chinese descent. And my mother I believe she grew up in Kingston as well.
Okay.
And they moved to the States later on in life. My father moved. He started coming back and forth to the States when he was 18. And then I was born in New York. But my uncles had a record label in Jamaica called Carrying, where they managed and produced artists like Garnet Silk and Culture Knots. And
really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know. See, I'm finding out so much stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would go to Jamaica a couple times a year when I was little, when I was growing up, and I would sit in those rehearsals and watch the musicians like lead rehearsal or be on stage and be on the side of the stage and watching them perform and stuff. So that was always something that resonated with me and stuck with me. And when people would ask me when I was young, my mother was a hairdresser. She's a beautician in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So she'd have the customers come through to the shop, and I'd get questions like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my mother would answer for me, and she said she wanted to be a pediatrician. And I was like, what is that?
Yes, that's a Jamaican thing, man. You have to be a doctor or a lawyer. That was me as well. Because my sister is a doctor, and I even went to university. I was on my way there, and I was like, nope, not gonna do this.
Not happening.
Not
I couldn't even.
happening.
Honestly, I was like at age 6. I was like, I can't even spell pediatrician, so that's out. I want to be a Singer. Okay.
Yeah, easier to spell.
It's easier to spell, and I loved it so much that I would always envision myself as doing just that and nothing else. I ask my friends all the time, I'm like, what would you do if you wouldn't do this? They would say, I would do nothing. And I was like, yeah. But what if you just didn't have this? And what would be another passion that you would explore? Right. And I have a friend that I was talking with this morning, and her passion is languages.
Oh.
My passion is health and wellness. So I
Wow.
would
Okay.
probably want to be some sort of wellness, whether expert or guide in physical wellness and mental wellness.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool. And I can see that from your morning live feeds that you do when you're
Oh my!
riding through the
Is this a
city.
plug
And
for the morning vibe? I had every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, only on
on Facebook.
IG Live.
Oh, it's on IG Live. Do you send it as well to Facebook afterwards, or
I don't. I don't really. And IG and Facebook, IG is actually quite separate from like all the
right?
simulcasting. So if I were to use something like StreamYard, which simulcasts like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch
Right.
and stuff like that, it doesn't go to Instagram. And I found that I just got easier engagement with Instagram.
Okay.
But I've been trying to find a way to engage Facebook because I really enjoy the flexibility of Facebook.
Right.
So
There's
yeah.
a kind of like a workaround for some of these things. There's something called Yellow Duck. You can investigate it.
Oh, Yellow Duck.
Yellow Duck, when you put your Instagram handle in, it'll generate a couple of codes, and you can put those in the other thing, and it will allow you to send to Instagram as well as the other. Yeah, so investigate that. That might just expand your reach.
Brilliant. I'm on
Yes.
it.
Woohoo! So, all right. So growing up now, when your parents realized that you were headed towards a career in the arts, how did they deal with that?
It's funny. My parents are pretty encouraging. They put me in everything. My dad was really big on exposing me to stuff, and my stepmom was really big on exposing me to stuff like piano lessons and modeling school and choir and big on just trying different things. And then I just kind of took a path of my own. I took the initiative to do most of the stuff once they saw that I had an interest in it. It wasn't really until I got to middle school that I really like leaned into any sort of performing opportunity and the talent, the sixth grade talent show. I'm at home right now in Miami with my parents, and I just went through all of my diaries. I have diaries starting from age 6, and then going all the way up
Wow.
to through high school. So it's been really nice to go back down memory lane and see where it began, and I have the exact date.
Wow.
I have the exact date of when it happened. And I'm like,
Really?
This is crucial. Journaling is so important. It's so important. That's where you get most of the stories from documenting it.
Very true.
So
Very true.
I went back and found my first talent show in middle school where I sang You Put a Move on My Heart by Tamia. And my stepmom made like this Chinese style dress.
Okay.
I was very serious. It was very, very serious.
What happened with the talent show? Like how did it turn out? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, it wasn't a competition. So
it was just a showcase.
It was just a showcase. Yeah. So I think I was in 2 numbers. I was in that solo number, and then I was also in like a group dance number with my sister and my friend. And we thought we were so good. Like, honestly, if it were a competition, we would probably place somewhere because we had passion, we had that heat.
Excellent.
And through that friend that I was dancing with, she introduced me to this community choir that was looking for singers, and they were a gospel choir, and I joined that choir. Now, as far as like, that wasn't the type of music that I listened to in my house.
Right.
We grew up like Roman Catholic / Episcopalian, so that music, that gospel music, was super attractive to me because of the instrumentation and the energy that's put behind, performing and also praising and the devotion of it all. So I found that really intriguing. And so I was a part of the choir. I understand the mechanics of that type of singing.
Right.
And so it's been super helpful to me, but my musical influences stem from like Marley and and the roots and culture reggae scene mostly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so funny that, I mean, with people growing up, either in Jamaica or with Jamaican parents, you'd think that the culture might be so similar to the American culture. I mean, and some aspects of it, yeah,
Or sort of,
they
yeah.
are, but some are completely different, like completely. Because I don't know if you know, but like country music is a big thing in Jamaica. I mean, it used to be a big thing, and it still is in some rural parts of
Oh
Jamaica.
my
So
gosh, yes.
it's huge.
How many
right?
I don't know if it's even reggae renditions of country songs are there?
Exactly. It's a
Like
lot.
I think Jamaicans and Jamaican music and reggae music was like the first to do cover songs.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Because a lot of it in the beginning was covers of R&B tunes and stuff,
Right.
and blues, and blues
Blues and
and yeah.
country and yeah. I
Wow.
remember
Pretty
listening
cool.
to music and I'm like, oh, there's a singer that's singing this, but I know I've heard this as a Kenny Rogers song or something like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Wow.
I
Okay.
thought the first time I heard it was through a Jamaican artist. So, the exposure is there.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Wow. Okay. Okay. So when did you say, okay, Broadway? I'm going to try for Broadway. Did something happen before you started auditioning for shows, or how did that
Yeah.
happen?
So I was really obsessed with The Lion King,
As were
the
most of us.
film. Okay, as were
Yeah.
most people.
Yeah.
And my father, my uncles, and I have family members who have studied through Rastafari and Rastafarianism, and so the idea of like the lion.
Yeah. Okay.
We were
Yes.
like, yes, the lion, everything is Lion King.
Wow.
So I was obsessed with the movie when it came out. It was just such a compelling story, and the music was amazing and super fun
Music
and
was
vibrant.
awesome. Yes.
Yeah, it really incredibly vibrant, incredibly emotional. So shout out to Disney for your epic storytelling always.
Yeah.
And I remember buying a sing-along tape with my own allowance money. And it came with a book, and it was a sing-along booklet. You could like read the lyrics and sing along. And I remember going to Jamaica, and we were going from Kingston to Country, and at that time it was like Ochi,
Yeah.
I guess I could say Ochi.
Yeah.
And the drive was so long at the time,
Yes. Yeah.
going around like, oh my God, the drop off, are we gonna die today?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Like Ben Road and stuff. So I guess in order for my uncles to like get me to be calm, because I was a hyperactive kid for sure,
Okay.
they put on The Lion King, and my cousins loved it, and so we were all in the car listening to The Lion King. And I remember one of my uncles turned to his friend and said, "She can't sing."
She
And I was
can't
like,
sing.
"She can."
Oh, she can't sing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like validation, because this is during the time where they were like doing all the stuff with the record label. And
Right. Of course. Yes.
so
Yes.
I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And that was my obsession with The Lion King. But I've always sung, and I've always, being a part of. I always loved singing. And then when I found out that The Lion King was going to be on Broadway, had its own Broadway show, I was like, this is it. And then growing up in New York, I went to middle school in New York. And for field trips and things like that, we would go and see a Broadway show. So
Okay.
one of my first shows was Smokey Joe's Cafe, which is like a review of popular music.
Right.
I think it was Cantor and Ebb, but don't quote me. And I remember just seeing these faces, and I was seeing Black faces, people of color on stage and singing music that was really interesting and like soulful. And I was like, ooh, that's cool. And then I saw another show, which was Jekyll and Hyde. And
Love that.
so that musical is epic. And then when I heard The Lion King was coming out Disney was coming out with the Lion King, the musical, I was like, I'm going to be Nala. Duh.
Right.
I had no idea, like my parents don't know anything about auditioning and that kind of exposure. They can send me to class, but as far as like the extra step, that wasn't necessarily in their wheelhouse.
Right.
So I just said it. I was like, I'm gonna be Nala, okay, guys.
Affirm it.
Affirming. So I let that roll, and then I moved to Miami, and
Okay.
I had a friend who had her mom owned a dance studio, and she loved Broadway. She loved all kinds of Broadway, and she had the soundtrack to, I think it was Wicked, and to
Okay.
this voice of this woman called Adina Menzel. And I was like, whoa, she
Yeah.
is singing big, she's singing big songs. Like, just this voice is just so
Yeah. Yeah.
massive,
Thunderous. It's a
thunderous,
massive
right?
voice.
Yeah. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then when The Lion King, I finally got some allowance money to buy actually had a job. I got a job
Okay.
at a movie theater here in Miami. And
Right.
I bought The Lion King soundtrack to the original Broadway cast.
Okay.
And I heard a song called Shadowland from this Trinidadian actress named Heather Headley.
Yes.
And when I heard that song, I said, oh, this is happening. I'm going to sing this song.
Nice.
I don't care where I sing this song. It can be church, supermarket, don't matter where I'm going to sing this song. And so it's been in my head ever since. And that was
Wow.
20 years ago. And I've just been into big singing and storytelling ever since then. I'm really particular. Like, I'm not just like every Broadway show.
Right.
I know what I like.
Okay.
And so I'm drawn to what I'm drawn to. And Lion King was definitely one of the shows I was drawn to.
So
I
have a couple of Lion King stories.
Yeah.
Well, stories. I mean, they're not about me necessarily, but they're kind of like 6 degrees of separation. Okay. So when I went to Berkeley in Boston, and it was my first week there, we're doing all these auditions and trying to find our teachers and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting on the 3rd floor where the voice department is, waiting to go and speak with the person who would be my voice teacher. And there was a young lady from, and I forget, no, I think she might have been from South Africa, but her name was Syndee Laloka.
Oh, yes.
And so we met and we struck up a conversation. We were having a great time. And, we were going to have the same teacher. And then I think she went to audition for The Lion King. And she just never finished the semester. She was Rafiki.
The original Rafiki of The LionKing. Yes.
That's right.
So interesting story there with Syndee. I was on a train, on a subway train platform heading downtown from Harlem. And I see this woman and she's kind of vocalizing. So I'm like, oh, she's singing. I'm going to sing a little bit too. Why not? So I sing and she goes, wow, you have a really great voice. And she says, come and sit next to me. So I come sit next to her and she said, I was the original Rafiki in The Lion King.
Wow.
And I kid you not, like a month later, I was auditioning for that very same show.
Nice.
Not that she had, I don't believe she had anything to do with that, but it was just like a moment of the universe.
Yeah, lining
itself.
up. Lining up. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, don't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. So the other thing is The Lion King, their relationship with Jamaica, because they audition here a lot. And there are a lot of friends that I have who have entered entered either the West End life or Broadway life and other, musical life, because they started in The Lion King. They've been in Lion King in New York, or others have been in Hamburg or in Australia, and they might be in England, of course. And then since then they've been working in other musicals and stuff as well. And then 2 friends I have here now help to organize whenever they come to audition. They help to organize the auditions.
Yes.
So it's the Lion King has been good for a lot of people.
Do they still audition?
They do. I think up to last year, I want to say, they held an audition out here. And
wow.
Many times it's for touring companies, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know a beautiful dancer of the name Jermaine Rowe?
Yes, yeah, I know him very well.
Oh yes, I met Jermaine in New York, and we have a mutual friend, and yeah, he was a part of the company as well.
That's right. That's right. And then he
Yeah,
went on to do
Fela.
Fela. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
in Fela.
about Fela
as well.
Kuti. Yes,
Right, right, right,
yeah,
right.
small world. Uh,
Indeed.
Actually, the friend, our mutual friend, he played Fela.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, but
Very
that's
cool.
that's so exciting to know that Jamaica has such a tie to a show as special as The Lion King, because at the end of the day, the talent pool is so big in Jamaica.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
everyone is amazing. Everyone's got a talent where they can sing or dance or act. Like it, they're not short. Like Jamaica is not short for talent.
True.
You,
True. That is true.
the thing that I'm so proud of to be a Jamaican, if I may,
Yeah.
is the work ethic. And to kind of tie back to what you were saying about, there is a difference, a cultural difference between Caribbeans, Jamaicans specifically, and African Americans. And I've
Hmm.
learned that over the years, there's just a history that we carry for us as Jamaican and Jamaican Americans that
Hmm.
is rooted in work and
Right.
pride,
Right.
and it's a little bit different than the African American perspective. It's because unfortunately they have the history of slavery.
Right. I mean, we have that history as well, but I mean, it's still slightly different.
It's slightly different. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
slightly different, like the systematic
But yeah, the thing is that
institutionalism,
yeah, it feels
of
like it hasn't ended in the U.S. On
yeah.
honestly,
It
you
really,
know,
yeah, it just takes on a different form all the time.
yeah, and it's there and it's insidious and it's in the background of just about everything. I think it can be so overwhelming for anybody, really, But you sometimes you sense it and sometimes you're not sure, Something.
Right. You have to kind of
Yeah,
you
yeah,
you don't know if it's the same
right.
a snake with the same head. It's like a snake
That's
with
right.
it's like the same
Yeah,
snake but with a different head.
yeah. It can mess you
And
up though. It can mess you up completely.
yeah, and it can be confusing, and it also can be disparaging in a way that, like, if I'm in a relationship with someone who is African American, there are just things that are different about us. Like my
Right.
parents will just move into a white neighborhood and open up a business.
Yeah, and not care. It's not a big
It'll
deal.
just be what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't have any sort of hang up about it. And so I get into these conversations with my friends about the differences. And I'm super empathetic and very compassionate towards the why
Right.
they believe things that they've believed over the years. And then, I also have friends that are like, yeah, no, we gonna do it. We're out here.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
jamming,
yeah,
because we all
yeah.
live in New York and we're all in the same boat, living on the same island that way.
True. So with the Lion King, okay, so that was your first main musical or your first?
So yeah, that was my first professional theater job out of college.
What a job to have! Nice.
Thank you.
Congrats.
But I didn't audition and then get it initially. It was about a 3 or 4 year journey to that space.
Gotcha.
I believe I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, in the way that you can manifest and create
Me too.
the world, and yes, by energy, but then also by work ethic, you
Yeah.
can develop the world that you want. And so yes, we
Yeah.
share that in common.
Yeah.
So when I first met, after meeting Sidi La Loca, I get a call for my first audition with The Lion King for the role of Nala. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm going to be in The Lion King, you guys. So they send me the size and they send me the audition material. And I go and I work with my voice teacher in school, and I go into the audition and I completely bomb. It's awful.
Wow. Okay.
It's awful. And the casting director was like, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then
How did you get through that?
It was a kind of a bubble popper, which, it was deflating. But I think that same, maybe a couple weeks later, my godparents surprised me with tickets to see the show for the first time for my birthday. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. And during that time, the Broadway community collects for an organization called Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. And so characters from the show or performers from the show will stand outside and take Polaroids and meet the patrons and accept donations and things like that. Now, Lion King is like, I am so proud to be in one of the shows. That's a long running show. And also they raise the most money.
Okay.
And so for $20, you could take a photo with Rafiki. Now, the woman who was playing Rafiki at the time, her name is Syndee Winters.
Okay.
Spelled differently, sounds the same, different last name. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I want to take a picture with Syndee Winters. So I get my $20. I'm waiting in line. I walk up to her when it's my turn. I say, hello, Miss Syndee. My name is Syndee, and I just want you to know that I auditioned for The Lion King last week. And I hope to be in the show someday. And she said to me, yes, sweetie. Okay, I will see you there. And I never forgot that. So
awesome.
I thought, maybe I had already auditioned, like maybe I'm going to get a call back at some point. And I waited and I was super patient. 3 years later,
yeah.
I was like, I probably should give up on this. I should probably give up on like thinking I'm going to get a call back. I think they might have found somebody. So I was on my way on vacation to Canada. And my agent calls me and says, the Lion King is looking for another Nala for the North American tour. And I said, okay, that's great. They're like, no, they're asking you to come in. And I was like, oh, well, didn't they see me already? Like, I didn't understand how auditions work. Like, it's like they literally, people will, if you don't make it past the first audition chance, and if they call you back, that means they saw something in you and they want you to come back in to see if you've grown, to see if you are in a different place, if you've gotten better, or they just maybe have missed something, or maybe they liked you and they just want to see more. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm going to go back in there. My pride is high, right? I'm like, whatever, I'm fine. Yeah. And I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine the day before my audition, which, by the way, was in a blizzard.
Really?
A full out, like, oh my God, I should not be on the road right now, blizzard.
Wow.
My friend was like, what are you wearing to this audition tomorrow? And I was like, oh, probably going to wear like a dress. I'm probably going to put on like some like a little heel. And he's like, why would you do that? Why? Because mind you, at that time I had half of my head was shaved off.
Okay.
And I had like a mohawk on the other side. And he was like, Syndee, what signals are you giving right now? That's absolutely crazy. Just go in there as yourself and let them figure out the rest. Because if the casting director or the creative team see something in you, they need to see a genuine picture.
Right.
So you need to show them that. And I was like, all right, fine. What do I have to lose at this point? I already don't have the job. So, true. And I've already tried something that was not successful. So, all right, I'll just show up. And it was blizzarding. So it's not like the dress was the better option.
Right. Yeah.
So I just wore all black. Mm-hmm. I'm a sucker for a leather jacket.
Right.
I love a combat boot. So I rocked my style. I went in there and I sang Shadowland. Okay. And the casting director that I had seen 3 years prior was like, whoa, okay. What happened to the girl that came in here before? And I was like, oh, she's out of the business. She stopped working. She retired.
Oh, I love that.
She realizes this wasn't for her. So I'm here in her place. So he gave me some notes. I took the notes home and I got a call back and I went back to the callback and applied the notes. And the casting director looked at me and said, wow, okay. So you came back, something super different about you. Like, what happened? And I was like, oh, you gave me notes. I applied them, and here they are.
Right.
And he's like, oh my God, great. So I got a final callback. I got called back for the final callback. And I remember going in for my final callback. It was in 2 parts. There was a woman who was in there right before my time, and she was singing that song down.
Wow.
I mean, it was crystal clear. It was beautiful. And I start getting the hiccups.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, Jesus, please. Don't let this be. Don't let me not get this job based on the hiccups.
Right.
So I remember this like remedy that my friend's grandmother taught me. And where you bend over and then you drink some water from like a bent over position, and then apparently they go away, and it worked.
Okay. Okay.
So I go in there and I sing my song, and I can see the executive producer of the show literally punch the other producer in the leg when I start singing. I was like, positive feedback or what? So that happened, and then I was like, okay, thank you very much. This has been real. I know that woman before me is going to get this gig, and so I went home. Mm-hmm. And I was on my way home, and my agent called me, and they said, "Hey, Syndee, Disney wants to make you an offer." And I was like, "What's that mean?" Because at the time I didn't know what an offer was. Like whenever they say, I'd like to offer you, well, for our dinner menu, I'd like to offer you chicken or fish. So I'm like, okay, what's this offer? He's like, you want me to say it? I was like, say what? He's like, Disney wants to offer you the role of Nala in the national tour of The Lion King. And Woo-hoo! That was a moment that my life completely changed. Because I had a vision board. And on that vision board were two things. On top of other things. Were 2 musicals. Mm-hmm. One of them was a musical called In the Heights, written by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Right, and I'm familiar with it, yes.
The second was The Lion King.
Ooh, love this story.
And I was like, it works.
It works. You know, there's my church, the person who founded my church, Johnny Coleman, she has this phrase called, it works if you work it.
Yeah, put the game down, flip it, and reverse it.
It works if you work it, and you worked it with that vision board and just with your attitude, you know. So yeah.
Yes, I love that. It works if you work it.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it.
You have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to do the work.
You have to do the work. So from there, I went on to do other projects. I wrote a show about Lena Horne.
You did?
I did. Right after coming off of the tour, I spent 3 years on the tour. The national tour of The Lion King, and then I moved back to New York because I didn't want to spend the rest of my 20s on the road. I had like a thing about that.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to come back to New York and see what's going on. And in the interim of trying to find a job and audition for work, I met more friends, and I had a friend named Chester Gregory, and he wrote a one-man show about Jackie Wilson. Okay. And I said, my brother, I can do whatever you can do. And he said, okay. And so we went through the brainstorming and that empowerment session that you have with your friends, you know. Yeah. And I said, I don't know. I guess I can tell the story about Diana Ross. He's like, yeah, okay. What else? And I said, oh, maybe Dorothy Day. He's like, okay, yeah, what else? And I said, oh. And I hesitated, and I said, someone said that I resemble or I remind them of like a young Lena Horne. He's like, oh, do Lena Horne. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. I didn't know much about her, but then I started doing things called research and getting on the Google. And the Google. And I was just like automatically blown away by this woman. And her story was I was captivated by her story because it felt like similar to mine. And she was in a space that no one else had been in because she was the first. Right. So I was like, you know what? All right, let's do it. I love a good dare. So I created a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo. Okay. And I reached out to my network and I worked that dream. And I made my goal. I wrote a script. I put my friend Chester in the story as Cab Calloway, and I premiered it in New York in 2014 to a sold-out audience. We even got on the news.
Wow. Okay. How long did you run for? Was it a one night only
One
or?
night only. It was a dare. It wasn't
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
supposed to really live past that moment. Like, seriously, I was like, I did it, like, with your help. That was great. And then it started picking up energy and kind of taking on a life of its own. And I've been working with this show ever since in development. And
Okay.
now I have a
Okay.
team. And now I have a team of all women of color
Working on that show.
working on
Working
that
to.
show. Mhm.
So what's the goal now with that show? Are you do you want to make it film, or do you want to have it be on Broadway, or what do you want to do?
Yeah. So the intention was to have it put up into as a full production,
Okay.
musical or play with music, to tour it,
Mm-hmm.
but and also have a regional and maybe off Broadway run. But now with the changing times of
Yeah.
our world and
Yeah.
industry, we've gone back to rethink a few things, a few ways of how to present, and some
Okay.
really interesting ideas have come across the table. So we'll see what happens with that.
Cool. Well, look. I'll look out and look forward to see what happens.
Yes,
That's really cool.
I wrote an
Okay.
album. Well, I recorded an album inspired by that project, and it's out on all streaming platforms.
What's the name of the album?
The album is called Lessons from a Lady,
Okay.
because as I was doing my research on Lena Horne, I started to learn and develop myself as an artist and as a person.
Awesome. Oh, you can give me all the links to those. I put them in the
Oh
show
yeah,
notes. Yeah.
absolutely,
So, oh,
absolutely.
that's awesome. That's really cool. Wow. Okay. So when did the next like mainstream show come about?
LOL when you say mainstream show, like as if we mean to do that, right?
I know, right? Yeah, I know. I know.
The next mainstream thing I meant to do was, like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
funny thing is like, just like Jamaica, New York is an island.
Yeah.
Manhattan is an island, right? And so it's small, and you have to learn several different lessons. And one of those lessons, big lessons, is to be good to people. You
Right.
can't scam off people because they remember you.
Yeah.
You have to be a good person. And I tell that to a lot of the young artists that I work with. It's like, it doesn't matter how talented you are, you have to still be a good individual, kind, helpful.
Right.
Be helpful. You're going into an audition, or you're going into any sort of environment where it's a collaborative effort by all, you need to be helpful. And sometimes helpful means being flexible.
Mm-hmm.
My time on Broadway has been been made possible because I've been able to be flexible and kind at the same time.
Okay.
But I earlier in my career, I'm a songwriter, so I've worked with Grandmaster Flash, DJ
Cool.
Grandmaster Flash on an album,
Mm-hmm.
and I write songs all the time, and I've written my own music that's also online. But
Right. Okay.
people don't know this about me, but I like rap. I
Okay.
rap. So there was
I
this
want all those
project.
links. All those links. I need all those links.
Okay, all right, no problem. You got it. So when I got back to New York, maybe about a year later, there was this new project that was coming out called the Hamilton Mixtape, and
Okay.
there were iterations of it, and I had gotten some material to audition for it. I auditioned for it. I actually got to see the production off Broadway and was completely blown away.
Mm-hmm.
And then it moved to Broadway and became a giant sensation. One of the
To say the
most,
least.
like, I am like, what? Like,
Wow.
we're all still very surprised at what a phenomenal show it is, and also the amount of impact that it has globally. So I auditioned for that show, I think maybe about 3 times, and on the third time was for when they were on Broadway and looking for a replacement for the principal standby, which plays all of the female lead characters in the show.
Okay.
And so I auditioned, and I got in. made it into the cast as the principal standby, playing Peggy, Angelica, and Eliza. Now, that story is much shorter than the Lion King story, but I was in Aspen singing at somebody's wedding. When I got the audition to come back to, I had to come back to New York early to audition for this show, and I didn't have any money. I had maxed out my credit cards. I only had like a little bit of money left on my credit card, and I was like, Lord, I prayed before I swiped. I was like, Lord, let it be your will. I need to pay this bill.
Yeah.
So I charged my card, and I flew back to New York early, went to the audition, and then went to a charity event where members of the Broadway community connect with a nonprofit called Covenant House, where we sleep outside. We sleep on the streets of New York so that homeless teens don't have to. Okay. And we raise money. And then a couple of days after, that very day, I got a call back that later in the week I'd be coming back in for Hamilton. And then by the end of that week, I had an offer. And I knew what an offer was by that point.
Right.
But that's one of the, I guess, a bigger accomplishment, you would call it. It's significant because, again, going back to my vision board, there were two images.
And Lin-Manuel was one of the...
Lin-Manuel Miranda was the writer of Hamilton.
Right.
And so that idea coming full circle was like mind-blowing to me. And it was true and authentic to who I was, because being the character Angelica Schuyler, I got to rap and sing at the same time. Yeah. So it definitely rang true to who I was. And so I didn't have to feel, and all while trying to get myself to shape shift and figure out what spaces I belong in the Broadway community. I didn't realize that the spaces were changing so that I didn't have to change that much.
That's an awesome thing. that thing you just said. The spaces
were recording,
changing.
Right?
Well, we sure are. I just got that little nugget of gold right there. The spaces were changing, so you didn't have to change who you were.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps right now, but yeah.
So yeah, honestly, through that experience and through experiences like The Lion King, and I was also in Motown the Musical, when that's just like its whole thing. Yeah, it's so funny. I get such a reaction from, I'll say I was in The Lion King, oh, cool. And then I'll say I was in Motown the Musical, and people go, oh,
because that music is epic. Amazing.
It's just epic. The musical wrote itself, basically. So, and to be able to portray the actual people that made that magic, it was a great experience. But saying all that to say, yes, I can look back and go, I really didn't have to change that much. So all the uncomfortability moments, all those moments of I don't belong, I don't fit in, I'm Jamaican, I'm Chinese, I'm living in America, I'm maneuvering a space where it's mostly African American in my space. I'm asked to play an African American. I've got to draw from my experience being a Black American, but also a Caribbean American into my work. Wait a minute, now I'm being asked to play an American, in a story about America. And that was built, the whole premise is that America was built on the help of immigrants.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just a thing within a thing. It was like an inception.
Perfect. Yeah.
And so that changed my life in a new way, where I got to really recognize myself when I see myself on stage,
Oh, that's awesome. Really cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. You can't see me, but I've just been smiling this whole time, and I'm still smiling. But okay, so you were also were you in Jesus Christ Superstar on the televised version?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How did that come about?
Auditioning, the same casting company that cast Hamilton and casted Motown the Musical and Pippin, that I was also in on Broadway, casted this show, Jesus Christ Superstar. At the time, I was like, Jesus Christ Superstar, what is this? I don't like that musical.
Really?
All this beer screaming and screaming. I can't take this screaming.
Yeah, Jesus was always screaming. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, why is Jesus screaming? Turn it off. What's next? Dreamgirls? Give me something else to deal with. But then when I heard that John Legend was going to be playing Jesus and Sara Bareilles was playing Mary Magdalene, and there was the undetermined role of Judas being cast, I was like, I'm in. Like, I don't know what this means, but I'm in. Just let me be seen. And I've always wanted to do one of those live musicals. It was on my bucket list.
Okay.
And before then I had never been in for an audition for it. So this was really a special thing. And so when I go in there, I show up to the audition wearing like peasant clothes. But I'm like lazy, so I had jeans underneath them.
Right, yeah. You didn't commit all the way.
Right. I had my jeans on, and then I had like a black top. So I'm like, either way, this skirt is gonna fit this black top, because like living in New York, like you can't be stepping out with no full wardrobe change, because like you got to carry it on your back. You don't have a car.
Right.
So like you got to be thrifty and nifty. So I was like, let me put this damn skirt on. So I put the skirt on. And literally at the last minute, like when they were like calling my name to come into the room, I just said, you know what, take this damn skirt off. You look like a fool. So I took off the skirt and I just walked in there, and I had on jeans and a black shirt, my black boots, and like my hair was like all wild and crazy as always, because that's me. I'm like literally like a ragamuffin wearing lip gloss. Like that's just like it. Like,
right. But that's in now anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, but it was like, it's always been kind of like my thingy. So it's like, it's like, again, the space is moving toward, moving around me, so I fit right in. The director, he was a British director named David Laveau. He's a very interesting guy. He was like kind of looking me up and down, and I was like reading this very complicated, very loquacious piece of music. And I was like, dang it. Like this, like we got to audition with these 16 bars. So, I'm looking at the paper the whole time. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I'm like, this is going to go real something. So I look down at the paper, and I'm, kind of like muddling through it, and David stops me and he goes, all right, I get it. Like, I know you want to like get this right, but just do what you think. He's like, don't worry about the lyrics. And so it freed me up to be able to like perform, tell the story of what that ensemble member needs to convey to Jesus. Okay. And then I said, okay, well, thank you very much. That was it. And then the next day, I get a call back for the dance portion. Now, the dance portion was choreographed by Camille A. Brown. And right after my time with Hamilton, I had a very clear declaration for myself. I said, from this point on, I only really want to work with people who I love and respect, because it's going to make my experience great. And I turn around, getting ready to go into the audition, and the associate choreographer is somebody that I've worked with in 2 shows already. Okay. His name is Ricky Tripp. And I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So we go through the dance portion. I get the offer to be a part of this project. It's a 6-week It's a 6-week rehearsal process. And one time do we perform it on air. Right. Yes. So I walk in to rehearsal our first day, and they've cast the role of Judas, and it's an actor by the name of Brandon Victor Dixon. Now, Brandon Victor Dixon I laugh out loud because I've worked with Brandon in 2 other shows. Really? I worked with Brandon in Motown the Musical and at Hamilton, where he played Aaron Burr. Okay. And also, Brandon is a Jamaican American. Okay, cool. And so I'm like, this is awesome. So we have a really great time, and we have a ball. And it was one of those moments where another life-changing moment for me was when I'm sitting in a first rehearsal, and the director comes up to us and says, All right, you guys. I know a few of you are sitting here with a little bit of imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Do they know about me?
Mm-hmm.
If they find out about me and how I am, are they going to ask me to leave?
Right.
And he said, I'm here to tell you, guess what I found out about you? And that's why you're here. I need your help. I need you to bring whatever you brought in that room because we need to convey however many gigawatts of energy from this giant stage through someone's small television on Easter Sunday.
Awesome.
This is the intention. This is our goal. This is what we need to do. Okay? Great. Go forth.
Nice.
And it changed my perspective on what a director is. It changed my perspective of like what an actor does. Mm-hmm. It changed my perspective of what I contribute and how I contribute and when I contribute things. Mm-hmm. And I work with young people, young artists, teaching workshops and master classes. And I share with them this story because it's so important for them to feel like they have permission. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like they can explore, like they've been brought on because we saw something special in them. There's something special about them that will help this story move forward.
Yeah. There's always so much fear wrapped up in new things, and that, I mean, I've had that imposter, I've experienced that several times. But there's always this fear, am I good enough? Do I really belong here? That kind of stuff. And thank God for those people who will recognize it and with just a few words, just dispel it completely.
Oh, with so few words. I was just like, that's it?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Like completely obliterated, melted away all of and it wasn't just me, it was the entire ensemble of about 26 people.
Excellent.
And that idea, all you need is that word. And it has to come from someone who you respect, in that space. Who has achieved for sure. But also, the heroes also come from people who have been in your corner since day one.
True.
I'm really impressed by you.
Really?
I mean, just being in the space that you're in is epic.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've for me as a American born from Jamaican descent, I've always wanted to come to Jamaica and be a part of any sort of theatrical community, but I just never really knew. And so I was following, was it Tammy Chin?
Tammy Chin, yeah.
Yes, yeah. I was following Tammy Chin and she made a post about you and I was like, oh, wow, I want to follow him. He seems super interesting. And so that's how we started communicating.
That's right.
Giving you internet technologies.
Yes, I'm telling you. So Tammy and I were I think I mentioned to you that, when we were growing up, I was in a performing arts group called Little People and Teen Players Club. Mm-hmm. And we're like 5 to 19, ages 5 to 19, but we're doing these really, things with high production value, these seasons of kind of a musical reviews kind of thing. Which included Broadway, but included Jamaican music and jazz and, folk music and all kinds of stuff. So Tammy was one of the younger ones in the group when I was, kind of about to leave the group. So, we've known each other a long time. And, but yeah, it's great because being back here, you try to do as much as possible. At the Edna Manley College, I think that might have been what Tammy had posted. We did a faculty show, and we called it Way Off Broadway. Mm-hmm. So we're doing all the, a couple of songs, maybe 2 or 3 songs from these different musicals. We did a couple from Hamilton. We did some from
really?
Company. Yeah, I did. You say,
yes, my love, you'll be back.
Yeah, you'll be back. So I did that, and we did another one, and from a few different musicals. Which from something from Once on This Island. We did from Into the Woods. Like from 7 or 8 musicals we did stuff from, and we did in an hour, no intermission. It was fun. So that's why I think that's what she had posted, and so wonderful that we got to connect.
That's so exciting. That's so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And through that, I thought, man, I would love to be a part of that.
That's right.
I love like just to be able to continue to share. I don't even know what the musical theater or the theatrical temperature is like. What's the climate like?
Well, there's
in
a lot
Jamaica?
there's a lot of like straight plays. There's a lot of theater here, actually. Quite a lot. Not as much, not as many musicals. There's quite a few original musicals going on, especially the company, Ashe, that I'm a part of. They do. My friend Michael, who was Tammy's big brother. He writes a lot of musicals, actually, and a lot of it has to do with Caribbean. Something he calls Caribbean mythry, so it's mythology and stuff. So, but there are other companies as well that are doing, theater and musical. There's quite a bit. It's a very vibrant theatrical community, actually.
Well,
so
it has to be. Everyone in Jamaica is talented.
So it would be great for you to come and meet some of these people, and
I'll bring friends. I'll bring friends too.
That would be awesome.
I love connecting with the Caribbean American performers on Broadway because we do come from a very specific type of upbringing, and so it's
true.
Although my voice sounds like this, but we all know what we like for breakfast. Okay,
that's right.
It ain't eggs and bacon.
Yep. Yeah. So come. That'll be awesome. So now that all of this has happened, and everything's kind of in limbo, let's say. How is this affecting you? How is this affecting the community? And how are you dealing with that? How are you working through that? How are you keeping each other up?
Yeah. I'm so thankful to even be healthy. And I'm so thankful to have been able to get out of New York before the severity of the situation really hit.
Okay.
So I will definitely say very grateful to God for that opportunity, for that possibility. But when this pandemic kind of started affecting New York, one of the first things that shut down was Broadway. So they shut down the NBA first, and then they shut down Broadway. And it was a similar pattern to what I was told. It was a similar pattern to what China was doing, just months later. And so when I caught wind, I was like, oh, I got to get out. But a lot of my friends are still there. They're managing. Some of them have contracted COVID and are working through it.
Okay.
We did lose a few souls along the way due to issues with COVID. But I think for the most part, we're surviving. I began working as a meditation coach just to connect and check in with people, I was a part of a production. I was in rehearsals for a workshop of a new project at the very time when Broadway got shut down. So we were immediately put out of work. So my castmates and I are all in a group chat on Instagram. We reach out to one another. I've been working with one of my castmates on meditation and building her practice because I've been working with meditation since I was 8 years old. My dad taught me how to meditate. And so checking in and also destigmatizing some of that like woo-woo.
Right.
Is it religion? Is it going to threaten my religious practice and all this other stuff? And you're like, okay, praise the Lord, but it only works if you work it.
That's right.
Why not tap into yourself? Because Jesus got to help pull you out of bed, but you got to get up the same way. Like you still got to put your feet on the floor. So, so connecting with my friends on their meditation practice has been a big passion for me. Being in Miami, I felt like a little bit of survivor's remorse. So I was like, you know what, Syndee, you know what we can do about this? get up, get on your bike, just ride around the neighborhood, just around your block, and like just show the trees and kind of give, trying to offer some digital vitamin D and maybe offer some peace to some of the folks who don't even have access to sun, because those New York apartments can be really dark and without a window, and the sunshine is a luxury. So that's what I began doing. That's why the Morning Vibe started, because it gave me a purpose, and it kind of gave me somewhere to be every weekday morning. And the feedback of my friends who tune in, I've got people who tune in all the way between California to the UK to Israel to Jamaica.
Right. That's right.
That it has helped. You know, I play music. We talk about things. We had a whole series where I was fundraising for Broadway Cares in April, and I played music from Broadway soundtracks, and I have guests on the show. I had a guest today by the name of Adeline. She is a French artist living in New York, but she's also of Caribbean descent from Martinique. So I love her music. And so if I think you're dope, you know,
nice.
Give you some love.
That's right. Excellent.
So we're just trying to keep the vibes, you know. I think that maybe the Jamaican in me that's just like, man, keep it simple. We have beer, joke, and laughs. So all we can do is just laugh.
And you really have to kind of be easy on yourself too.
Yeah, totally.
Some days are going to be great, and some days maybe not so much.
Yeah, totally.
And you can't beat yourself up over that. I mean, I went through that this week. I was like, wow, I didn't get half the stuff done that I really wanted to get done.
Oh my gosh.
I feel so useless.
Mike, it's the same for me. I was like, I felt so productive. And then like this week, I was like, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get this done. You know, I'm going to get done. Nothing. How about that?
Nothing. I was like, okay, next week will be better.
Yes, jumping on this time with you, I was like, Syndee, let's go. Pull it together.
Yeah.
Like, you're better than this in that way. Like, where's your mind?
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that we made this time.
Yeah, me too. And you know, that thing that we spoke about with the Caribbean work ethic, you know, because we have this we're kind of figuring things out, and sometimes you sleep late, and sometimes, but you know that there's this thing in the back of our heads that goes, get up, you're worthless.
You're worthless. Yeah, that's like that guilt, like that, you know, work shaming.
Like, get up, go and do something. You know, but no, you're not. You're working through stuff. You know, just take it easy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, we do get there's this like luxury, right? Like, we do get the luxury of being like, nah,
right.
I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
You know, but my dad has got this illustrious garden, and every day he's in the garden, because at the end of the day, like, you want to eat, you better go and pick some food from outside.
Exactly.
Because if they shut down a supermarket, we have to survive on something. You have to feed yourself. So in order to feed yourself, you have to get up and pick the food and water the grass and water the lawn, whatever it is. Right. And so for being home and learning that stuff, it's kind of been also giving me a purpose to like be self-motivated. But also, like, I'm a person that, like I said, I do a million things at once. So like, just currently right now, I'm building a deck for a program. I'm writing a book. I'm developing my course. I'm shooting videos. I'm also working on a podcast. And all these things will happen.
Yeah.
But do they need to happen right now? This second, all at once?
Yeah. I think my friend Tammy, actually, she calls it a multi-potentialite. That's what we are.
Come through. Give me the word. Multi-potentialite.
Multi-potentialite. Yep. That's what we are. We're doing, because I have I have a book that I'm proofreading as well, that I've written for performers, vocal performance and stuff like that. And working on this podcast. I mean, this doing this regularly, kind of taking that responsibility to make sure I do this once a week. Has been good for structure,
Yes.
Working on music, with my songs and composing other songs. I do some stuff that is fusion of electronic music and Jamaican folk music.
Ooh,
so I'm working on that stuff.
Need a singer? I'm in.
I'm open to all collaborations. So yes, for sure, that would be awesome. I'll send you some examples.
Fun.
I'll send you some examples so you can hear what I've been doing. And so just plus teaching because I still have my students. So connecting with them and that kind of stuff. So all these things are going on. But yeah, your story sounds familiar. And maybe they're not all going to happen and come out at the same time, but you work on them a little at a time,
little by little.
Yeah, and it helps you not get bored because you have all these other things to.
Truly,
you can jump around.
Truly.
Yeah.
I want to just come out of this quarantine knowing that I was able to sit my behind down for like a time and get work done, because I've been very, very fortunate. Yes, and I'm blessed and I'm grateful, but I've also been very, very busy. So then it takes away from the other things in life. Like I've been spending more time with my parents, which I have not done in 16 years. I'm going back and reading things that I put down and ideas that I left to the wayside and revisiting them and catching up with people that are not based in work. Just like, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's been a relearning of myself for sure, and talking with other people, they've kind of said something similar. Like I'm relearning about myself.
Yeah, and there's some healing going on somewhere too. I mean, you probably aren't even fully aware of it, but there's some like either personal healing or healing of relationship. There's different things happening that we're not completely aware of just yet.
Yeah, there's this weird thing that I'm kind of going through is like, you wish that you could be somewhere. Like we all wish we could be doing something. Like I wish I could be with my partner right now, doing things and hanging out and just basically spending time together. He's not here in Florida, so I wish I could be with my friends. I wish I could just go to the beach or something, getting on a plane and flying anywhere was just like so simple to me at one point. And now it's like so many things you must consider. And also the lack, the idea that concept right now is just not possible. You could sit here and be upset about stuff and be bummed out, or you could reorganize the way you see that.
Right. Yeah, you can look at it from a different perspective. Just spin it around, turn it upside down, say, how does it look now?
Yeah, and so I've just been kind of in that place where I'm like, all right, let's not dwell on the fact that I wish I could.
Right.
This is where I am. What can I do here? And that's a big part of like going into the mindful space and the meditative space, because you can kind of unlock some things and learn about yourself through that practice.
Yeah, I saw somewhere there was a post, and I think I mentioned it in another thing where they said that in this time people were presented with their, what was it? Was it presented with their darkness or presented with something? It wasn't their darkness; it was something else. But in essence, they were presented. They saw their own reflection, and they had to deal with some stuff that hadn't been dealt with. So we're all going through that.
I realize that I'm super loud.
Really?
I'm super loud, Mike. Super loud. And I thought it was just, I was like, I'm just competing. I'm competing with New York. New York is full of energy. It's full of like these, and the industry that I'm in, it's like I'm surrounded by all these like extroverted, like bigger than life people. Like I'm just trying to keep up with them. It's them. They're loud. I'm just like trying to keep up. No. And then I get to this space where it's just me and trees in the suburbs. And I'm still the one with the music turned all the way up to 100 and belting at the top of my lungs. She's loud.
And that's okay though.
Oh, it feels so good.
It's okay.
Because then I listened over next to my stepmom, who's like in the kitchen, and she's got the TV turned up to 100 and singing Frank Sinatra. And I'm like, oh, there's a trend.
Yeah.
I got this from somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I knew this before, but I'm a complete introvert, even though I'm a performer and even though I'm an introvert. So being alone, I mean, it's been 2 months really, and I've been fine. And
Good for you.
sometimes I'm a little guilty because I'm like, oh, I can't really tell people this because they won't understand. But I'm fine. I mean, sure, now I'm thinking, I need to probably go and take a drive out just for a change of scenery and come back home or something, But it's been. I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah. And I'll say because I'm in this environment right now that I don't mind it at all either. Because also, people have called Jamaica a third world country. I said, in what sense and to whom? Mm-hmm. Because you have sunshine, you have water, you have fresh fruit, fresh food.
Yep.
That's pretty first world to me.
Yep.
Everything else is you chasing.
Yeah. And a lot of people really enjoy their lives.
And a lot of people really enjoy their lives. I don't remember unfortunately I'm terrible, but like there's a public figure, a Jamaican public figure. She's a woman. She's like an on-camera personality. Older woman, hilarious. And she was kind of talking about going through the experience of COVID and especially being in Jamaica.
Faye Ellington?
Yes, Faye Ellington.
Yes, I want to talk to her too.
Oh my gosh, she's epic.
She's awesome.
I'm like, you're amazing. Like, I want to meet you. So like she put it so eloquently, through her perspective of like how she's dealing with it and like her perspective around it. Yeah. And I was just like, wow, yep, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I took some of what she was saying into my own life, and some of that stuff there were alignments with what I was already doing. Yeah.
Excellent. She's brilliant. Yeah,
brilliant. Just worldly. Brilliant. Love it.
Love her. When I was doing my master's, I kept calling her. I was in Spain. I was in Valencia. And, I was doing this thing with my thesis was really that folk music fusion with the electronic music. Mm-hmm. And every question I had about a folk song or about what this meant or where is this from, I'd give her a call. So she was getting my calls all the time.
Did she respond?
Oh yeah. Because I knew her before, and she responded, and we had long conversations about about stuff. She's just awesome, wonderful. Just love her.
I'm looking her up on Instagram. I'm like, is she on Instagram?
I don't think she might be. I'm not sure. I know she's definitely on Facebook, but not sure about Instagram. But that's so cool. That's awesome. That's awesome that you saw her doing that stuff.
Yeah, my dad showed me. He's like, yo, check her out because she's got some heavy stuff.
Yeah. So she actually teaches at the university in
really?
In like the media faculty. She teaches there. Yeah.
Wow.
Is there like, have there been any like really special like standout moments that have happened to you on this journey or?
Oh, wow. Okay. So there have been a few, and I mean, I definitely have shared the ones that were a part of my wildest dreams. Mm-hmm. But like, there's just one that stands out to me that's like grander than the wildest dream. It's like, yes, it works if you work it, but then when it starts working you're like, work! So that all falls into the time that I, in 2019, which is last year, I got a call to come back to Broadway, return to the Lion King as Nala for a few months. And so I was like really excited about it because the Lion King is basically home. It's like my family. I love the people that work there, and the cast members that are there have been there for years. Right. And so it's like returning back home, and it's going to be great. And it was also around the same time that the Lion King movie, the new reimagined film, was coming out, and so I learned that Beyonce was playing Nala She was the voice of Nala in this movie. And I was like, this is amazing. Am I going to be Nala and she's going to be Nala at the same time? Wow. So then I get a call. I'm in California right before I'm coming back to New York, and I get a call from my friend, and he says, "Hi, Syndee. I work for the Waco Theater in California. My friend Charles Thomas works very closely with Miss Tina Knowles and Mr. Richard Lawson in their theater." And he said, "How are you? We're just having a nice little catch up." And I was like, "I'm doing well. This weird thing came by me last week. I'm going back to The Lion King as Nala." He's like, "Amazing. Well, the theme of our gala this year is The Lion King. I'm going to ask, would it be okay if I asked Miss Tina to see if she'd be interested in having you perform?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure.
Wow.
That would be amazing." Like, I'm calm. Like, my throat's very calm. Like, I'm very calm. And I was like, "Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, whatever. No problem." And we left it there. So then he calls me a couple months later. I'm actually in the show now. And he's like, "Hey, Sin." I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "So Miss Tina wants you to perform at the gala. And she wants you to perform at the gala in costume." And I was like, "Whoa, okay. So I've got to ask Disney if it's okay for that to happen." And he's like, "Okay, cool." So I connected Disney with the Waco Theater, and Disney supported the initiative and flew not only myself in costume, they flew out 5 other women from the show, and we opened the program of the gala singing the song Shadowland, which is Nala's song in the musical.
Right.
And so it was one of the biggest, I was like, what is happening? There was 1,600 of Black Hollywood's or the entertainment industry's best of the best.
Wow.
I mean, it was an incredible event, and to be a part of it and to be a part representing in the way that I was just huge. And so during that event, there was an opportunity for Beyonce, Miss Knowles Carter, and I to meet. And we shared a moment, and Mrs. Carter is absolutely amazing. She's a gracious, beautiful soul. And I also got an opportunity to meet an amazing woman named Yvette Noel Shore, who is Beyonce's publicist.
Okay.
And she's a Caribbean girl. She's an island diva from the island of Grenada.
Nice.
And so
Very cool.
When I met this beautiful queen, I detected an accent, and I said, "Where are you from?" She says, "Oh, I'm from Grenada." I was like, "Oh, I'm Jamaican." And so we bonded immediately on that. And she's since that moment been one of my most favorite people that I've come across.
That's awesome.
On top of Mrs. Carter, who is amazing.
Right.
And I get these weird questions after the photo was released, and people saw it. It's like, "Well, how did she smell?" I'm like, "Get out of here with that."
What?
That's a weird question. I would not know. Besides rainbows and sunshine.
Right. Smell like Christmas.
Pixie dust. Chanel. Okay. She smelled like a queen. Yes. Okay. Does that suffice?
Awesome.
I was too busy. We were too busy just having a nice conversation. So,
nice.
But that was one of the moments. It was like the universe, like you create your plan, you get it going, and you see that the achievement happens that you set out to achieve. But then it just takes on a leg of its own.
Right.
And that was just wild. And that it then became this national headline soon after.
Oh, okay. Wow. The universe keeps working, huh?
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's really, really wild. Do you know about the Lion King experience?
No, I've seen that. I saw that thing on your IG, and I wasn't sure what that was. What does that mean?
Disney is I don't know if you want to put this in there or not. It doesn't necessarily matter. Like,
Okay.
I'll tell you about it. So Disney, during this quarantine, Disney theatrical or Disney on Broadway released their Introduction to Theater lesson plan. So it's an educational course, Introduction to Theater through the lens of The Lion King. And myself, along with my castmate, Jelani Remy, who played Simba in the national tour of The Lion King, who is also Trini/Bayesian.
Okay.
Hello.
Caribbean represent.
We were the hosts of each lesson. So there are 11 lessons for the kids version of the Lion King experience. And then there's a junior version of the Lion King experience where there are 18 lessons and sessions.
Okay.
And we're the hosts of every single session. So we greet the students. Hey, everybody, it's Syndee Winters. And then we also close out the session as well. And it's free.
How do people access that? Like, where do they go to?
They can go to thelionkingexperience.com. Either it's The Lion King Experience or just lionkingexperience.com. Okay. And they can download the experience. They can download the lesson plan for free. And they can build their own version of The Lion King and then get all this very special choreography and set design and learn about parts of the theater, stage management, plot, direction, casting, musicality, all kinds of the various aspects of theater just through the lens of The Lion King. So then you get backstage footage and information about how The Lion King was made, which is a really special show that is still running to this day.
Right. Awesome. I mean, if anybody's listening and they do download these lessons and do something with it, please let us know. Let us know in your feedback in the comments. Please,
it's open to teachers who theater programs who want to just create curriculum for their teachers, for their students, parents who want to do something fun with their kids.
Okay.
It's for anybody.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's awesome. Nice. Very good.
I almost forgot. Oh, and I'm also working on a podcast called Why Are You Like This? So
when do you hope to launch that?
I hope to launch this within the next month or so.
Excellent. So we'll look out for that.
Yes, and I hope that you will be a guest on that podcast.
I would be so happy to be. So happy to be. Awesome. Syndee, I can't tell you how much fun this was. Literally smiling throughout the whole thing. Wow, man, such wonderful stories, such wonderful lessons to share. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
This has been great. Thank you.
All right, cool.